Good morning. My name is Juan Carlos Cerda, and I am a DACA recipient and the director for the Texas chapter of the American Business Immigration Coalition. ABIC is a bipartisan coalition of 1,200 CEOs and employers in 16 states. We strongly prefer bipartisan solutions, but despite many positive conversations with 41 Republican senators, none has stepped up to co-sponsor existing bipartisan standalone bills like the DREAM Act. If reconciliation is moving forward, adding immigration is the only vehicle in sight, at least until the 2022 midterms. News leaked last night that Senate Democrats will make the case to include a path to citizenship for Dreamers, farm workers, TPS recipients, and essential workers in the budget reconciliation bill. Democrats, led by Senators Schumer and Durbin, will argue that they can include immigration and recon, while Republicans, led by Senators John Cornyn, Lindsey Graham, and Chuck Grassley, will counter that immigration fails the Byrd test. ABIC believes that immigration reform is urgent, bipartisan, and that it does belong in reconciliation. The Byrd rule clearly states that recon can be used for measures that impact federal spending, revenues, and the federal debt limit. That's why GDP, we know, will grow by 1.5 trillion. There was a letter this morning by economists that argue that a pathway for citizenship for Dreamers, TPS recipients, and essential workers will raise annual wages of all American workers by $600 and create more than 400,000 new jobs over the next decade. There is precedence. In 2005, senators like John Cornyn voted in favor of using recon to give green cards to 3.2 million immigrants. Immigration is bipartisan and popular. A new poll shows that 67% of Americans support immigration and budget reconciliation. That's why we urge Congress to please pass immigration reform in recon. If you're a member of the media, please type in your question in the chat box or in the Q&A box. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce a big champion for undocumented workers and the biggest proponent for immigration reform in Texas, the CEO of the MAREK family of companies, Stan Marek. Stan?
Good morning. Here I am. I've got about a minute and a half, so I want to make my point, and then I get to introduce the Congresswoman. I'm Stan Marek. I'm an employer of construction workers, and we've got a lot of them, and we've never had a labor shortage in my 50 years like we're seeing right now. I want to tell you about a little experience I had. I've been working with some great folks at HISD and HCC, getting kids out of high school, their junior and senior years, and teaching them a trade. And we had our first graduation this summer. I had 10 young men and women that had given spent a lot of time in construction labs and learning their ABCs. Took them out to hire them, found out 4 were undocumented. I was a little upset, but as the principals told me, no ask. They can't ask, and I couldn't ask. But what broke my heart was these were really good kids that had been here their entire lives. They'd gone through our primary schools, our middle school, high school, got a high school diploma, and they can't find work. And I talked to those principals. I said, between you two guys, you've got 4,000 students. How many do you think are undocumented? The number was 40%, 1,600. Ladies and gentlemen, we are missing a golden opportunity to take these kids who came here, no cause of their own, and they can't get a job. Where are these kids going to be in 5 years? They're not going to have a good job. They're going to be repeating a life of poverty like their parents. We can't let that happen. We need DACA to open up to all these kids immediately. So please take that message back to your friends. Look at Rational Middle Immigration. That's our social media platform where we explain a lot of this, and let's make this happen. My great pleasure to introduce a very good friend of mine, U.S. Representative LIZZIE FLETCHER. I've known her family for seems like generations, and I'm so proud of LIZZIE and all she's done to step up and take the role of leadership in our district and do a wonderful job in Washington. Congresswoman, it's all yours.
Well, thank you so much, Stan, and good morning. I'm so glad to be with all of you, and I want to thank the American Business Immigration Coalition for convening this group this morning to talk about this important issue. I'm delighted to join Mayor Turner and the other leaders in our community who are speaking today to share the message from Houston that now is the time for comprehensive immigration reform and that our community supports it. I am so honored and proud to represent Houston in the United States Congress and to tell my colleagues there about the diverse, inclusive, welcoming community here in Texas's largest city. They are sometimes surprised to learn that Houston is the most diverse city in the United States, but it is. 1 in 4 of our region's 7 million residents is foreign born. And we see the benefits of that diversity of experience and what it brings to our community, a community that is innovative and collaborative and connected. Foreign-born Houstonians work across industries here and drive our economy forward. But our current immigration system is broken, and it has been for a long time. In this moment, we have a unique opportunity to make practical changes to this system to benefit everyone across our country. In the Congress, we have not only the opportunity, but the responsibility to do this work. As a representative of this community, I co-sponsored and voted for H.R. 6, the American Dream and Promise Act, to provide legal permanent resident status for DACA and TPS recipients, and the House of Representatives has passed this bill in this Congress, as well as the last one. The House has also passed the Farm Work Modernization Act of 2021 just this spring. And we have the opportunity before us now, as we heard earlier, to address these important matters again in the Build Back Better plan and reconciliation process currently making its way through Congress. On this issue before the Congress, the message from Houston is clear, as you will hear from leaders of our community today. It is time. It is past time for Congress to act to address our broken immigration system with practical solutions and in a bipartisan way to address the many issues and challenges and to seize the many opportunities that doing so will mean for our communities and our country. I'm glad to partner with these leaders today to deliver this message and to deliver it in the Congress. Thank you so much for including me this morning. I'm so glad to be here.
Sorry about that. Thank you so much, Congresswoman Fletcher, for your leadership. We look forward to supporting you in this process of including immigration in the budget reconciliation process. And you represent Houston very well. So thank you so much. Now it is my pleasure to bring on J. Michael Trevino and the mayor of Houston, who I believe is on. He's just under a different name. So J. Michael and Mayor Turner, if you're on, you could please turn on your video.
Yes, thank you, Juan Carlos. Very much appreciate being invited to participate in this. I am standing by to see if the mayor does log on. I've just heard from his office that he is logging on. He's closing out a meeting. But I'd say it's my distinct pleasure to introduce Mayor Sylvester Turner, Houston's 62nd mayor. Mayor Turner is in his second term, and he is truly among one of the most influential people in the state of Texas. Prior to assuming the helm of the city, he served 27 years in the state legislature as a representative. 3 of the terms that he was in the state house, he served as the leader pro tem. And it's a distinct pleasure to know that Mayor Turner has been named the recipient of the 2021 Joseph Jaworski Leadership Award. He certainly demonstrates all the qualities and characteristics of the type of leadership that we need in our city. And I think it's a personal privilege on my part to introduce the CEO. This is a business roundtable, the CEO of Houston. Mr. Mayor, if you're on, I would appreciate them opening up the camera for you. Juana, you're able to determine whether he's been able to log on?
I'm sorry, he is not on, so we'll bring him on shortly when he logs on, J. Michael. But for now, I would love to introduce another peer of mine who is also a DACA recipient and is very well known in Houston for saving so many people during Hurricane Harvey. And he's a dreamer. His name is Jesus Contreras. He's a paramedic, and I recently learned he's also a photography business owner. So Jesus, we would love for you to share your story. Welcome.
Good morning, and thank you all for having me. A little bit about my story. I am a Mexican native, migrated here, avoiding poverty and violence in Mexico. I went through the public school system. Just like Mr. Marek was saying earlier, I was one of those high school students who had the fortunate ability of passing a trade program. Mine was EMT school, offered through Lone Star College. Even though I passed the program, I couldn't become a certified EMT basic because I was undocumented. Fast forward to 2013, the Obama administration passed DACA, and I was able to pursue my dream of becoming a paramedic. Shortly after that, I was involved in the rescue efforts of Hurricane Harvey, the February freeze, some of the tax day floods, and different emergencies that have happened here in Houston. And this day, I am working on the front lines against the COVID-19 pandemic and the people that it's infected. I have the privilege of working with some of the sickest people out there, because when they call 911, it's because they've become as sick as they can get, and they just simply can't take care of themselves anymore. One struggle that I'm seeing is that we have a shortage of EMTs, paramedics, and healthcare staff. A lot of us are DACA recipients. A lot of us are TPS holders and immigrants. If you can imagine taking off even 1, 2, 3, 4 workers out of that healthcare workforce, the strain that it has, we simply don't want to see our coworkers go and cause our state, our cities to lose money, to lose resources, to lose hardworking people with skills. And like Juan Carlos said, I'm also a photography business owner. I have my business and I have bills to pay. I have rent that I'm paying. I have a car that I'm paying for. And who knows who's going to pay for that if I get deported? Who knows who's going to take that spot in the ambulance if I get deported? I urge Congress to finalize this bill, to get the reconciliation and immigration, comprehensive immigration reform included in this bill. We're anxious and we're behind you guys, Congresswoman FLETCHER. We're behind you, and we're here to help in any way possible. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Jesus. You remind us again that we need to provide permanent legal status for you and your family so that you can continue to do the important work that you do every day in saving lives. I would now like to introduce CEO of Amity Bank, Steve Stephens, who has graciously offered to speak on behalf of immigration reform. Steve.
Well, thanks, Juan Carlos. I want to open by making a quick comment about Stan Marek. I've known Stan for 40 years. And it's interesting we're talking about immigration because the largest loan that I made in 1986 was to Marek Brothers Company, started by his father and 2 uncles, World War II veterans, and the greatest generation. And then dial forward 40 years. The last 2 largest loans I've made have been to 2 immigrant-owned companies. One is a wireless communications retailer, and the other is a very large quick service restaurant and convenience store operator. So I think that tells you about the beauty of Texas business and the mix of business creation. I'm pleased to actually represent the banking industry on these comments. Arguably, you could say that the most important drivers of business success and creation is access to capital and a good workforce. Because of the first time ever PPP program, all the banks were very busy talking to their business clients and owners about getting a PPP loan. So there's a chance to have a lot of conversations with your clients. At our bank, we made over 75,000 PPP loans. So a lot of conversations, and the dominant comment made by business owners is labor concerns together with inflation. So it's a very acute issue, and it's time that we act on it. Here are some real facts. If your labor force is important to you, then you've got to acknowledge that now 29% of our workforce are immigrants, both documented and undocumented. So almost 30% in growing. A source of facts for our industry is the Federal Reserve. And they've been saying this for a couple of years before the pandemic, but the Federal Reserve reports that we have a slowing labor force due to really a number of factors. One is the aging US population, declining birth rates, and actually the retirement that's been accelerated by the pandemic, the acceleration of retirement of baby boomers. So these are immovable structural trends that will continue to suppress the labor-free growth in the long run. And we think about birth rates. So for 6 years in a row, birth rates decreased by 4%. And because of COVID-19, everybody's curious, well, what happened to birth rates? Some of us think that actually increased, what declined by 8%. So this is a collision that's in front of us. And if we're going to help grow the US economy, then we've got to create and protect a workforce. And having a better path for these immigrants that are already in our country, I think is absolutely critical.
Thank you so much, Mr. Stephens, for your leadership in trying to get this issue of immigration solved. We really appreciate your remarks and your support for Stan and his work. Next, I'd like to bring on ZAIRA Garcia, the Texas State Director for Forward US, to introduce Melissa Stewart of the Restaurant Association.
Thank you so much, Juan Carlos, and thank you all for taking the time to join us today. My name is ZAIRA Garcia, and I'm the Texas Director for Forward.us, a bipartisan political advocacy group focused on immigration reform and criminal justice reform. I'm also a born and raised Texan and the proud daughter of immigrants. My dad is the hardest working person I know. He came to this country with nothing and has been here for decades, raised 4 US citizen girls and put them all through college, built a home and a life here. And still there is no option for him to have that permanent status to live with the peace and dignity that he deserves. I've grown up seeing his hands help build sky rises in downtown Austin, homes for families in the suburbs, and stadiums where we gather in community to cheer on our home sports team. A few weeks ago, he got a call from his boss saying this was a big year because so many people were moving here and so many new building projects were in the pipeline and they were going to need him. His skills, his talent, and his hard work are in high demand, yet he isn't afforded the protections necessary to live with dignity and without the fear of being separated from his family at a moment's notice. I heard a fellow impacted person say recently, we cannot be called essential and be deportable at the same time. Immigrants are essential. We see it every day in every corner of our workforce, our economy, and communities. Major sectors of our state's economy, including agriculture, food and beverage, energy, and real estate, are fueled by the contributions of immigrants who are driving innovation, creating American jobs, and boosting economic growth. Today, immigrant Texans contribute billions in tax revenue at the federal, state, and local levels and create millions of jobs for American workers. However, decades of inaction on immigration policies has hindered our state's economic growth while preventing millions of immigrants from contributing their full potential, which is why Forward.us expanded its work to support immigration reform through continued partnerships with Texas business organizations and trade associations across the state. Business leaders know and see the key roles immigrants fill in our state's workforce and economy. And with that, I'm excited to introduce one of our key partners who we've been fortunate to work with towards sensible and humane immigration solutions, Melissa Stewart. Melissa is Executive Director at the Greater Houston Restaurant Association and a lifelong Houstonian. Melissa has 25 years of experience in a variety of public, private, and nonprofit companies in executive leadership operations, training, and program development. Her background includes a wide variety of industries and company types, ranging from a startup to Fortune 1000 companies. Ms. Stewart joined the Greater Houston Restaurant Association, a chapter of the Texas Restaurant Association, in 2013 as their Executive Director for Houston and the South and Eastern Texas region. In this role, she supports and represents restaurant members in their goals for advocacy and education to help make their businesses successful. With that, I'll kick it over to you, Melissa.
Great, thank you so much. And good morning, and thank y'all for having me. As it was said, I'm Melissa Stewart. I'm the Executive Director for the Southeast region of the Texas Restaurant Association. And as a proud lifelong Houstonian, I absolutely delight in the fact that we are the culinary capital of the South. And this is the title we've earned because of our diversity led by our immigrants. In the greater Houston area, we have over 10,000 restaurants employing over 250,000 workers, with almost 1/4 of these owners and workers being foreign born. Across the state, almost 50,000 restaurants deliver over $70 billion in annual sales. Restaurants are the cornerstone of our community. We are the places that memories are made and milestones are celebrated. When disasters strike, we feed the helpers and the hurt. Our industry represents 1/3 of the first jobs for our nation. We are the job that teaches you how to have a job. We learned during the pandemic how critical a place we have in nourishment, with most families spending over 50 cents of every food dollar in a restaurant. We rely on a labor-intensive model to feed our neighbors, and the fact is there's not nearly enough people here to keep up with our needs, and there hasn't been for many years. We need to support the many foreign-born owners, cooks, workers, and servers with reforms to bring them into our economy through immigration, DACA, and TPS policy changes and reforms, and we need it now. If reconciliation is a way forward, please take all options available. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your support, Melissa. We really appreciate the Restaurant Association in Houston, which has so many members that are really affected by this issue. Now I will bring back on J. Michael, since we have Mayor Turner from the city of Houston. J. Michael.
I think the video has to be turned on for me, but can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, J. Michael.
Thank you very much. And good morning, everyone. Again, it's my distinct pleasure to introduce Houston's 62nd Mayor, Sylvester Turner, a dear friend and a wonderful leader. He certainly is among Texas' most influential leaders. Before becoming mayor, he served 27 years as a state representative. During those 27 years, 3 of his terms were as pro tem leader. The mayor has been is going to be the recipient of the Joseph Jaworski Leadership Award awarded by the American Leadership Forum, and so it's a real treat to be able to have him join the call. Indeed, the mayor is the CEO of Houston, so I'm delighted that he's able to join us because this is about business and it is about immigration policy reform. Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Thanks, Mike. And it's an honor to be with you again. And look, it's good to be here with everyone today. And I want to start off by thanking Stan Marek and Michael Trevino for putting together today's press conference. I'll keep my remarks brief, but I am here to tell you why immigration reform is a vital necessity for the continued sustainability and growth of Houston's economy. Without immigrants, our city cannot continue to be the inevitable economic powerhouse that Houston has become. They are one of the main reasons people from all over the country are moving to Houston and other Texas cities to find good paying jobs. All of us play a role in Houston's success, but the role of immigrants is vitally important. According to the New American Economy, foreign-born residents in the Houston metropolitan area hold significant economic power. In 2016, immigrant households in Houston earned over $50 billion, of which $9.2 billion went to federal taxes. Contrary to the idea that immigrants come here for free benefits, foreign-born residents have paid for federal social programs. Immigrants in the Houston metro area contributed $5 billion alone to Social Security and $1.4 billion to Medicare. Immigrants are also a part of the workforce that we all depend to live on a prosperous life. For example, although foreign-born residents made up 23% of the metro area's overall population, they represented 30% of its working age population and over 30% of its employed labor force as of 2016. But it is not the positive economic impact that Houston's immigrant community plays in the present. Houston will also need immigrants if it wants to continue to grow in the future. Just a few years ago, I spoke at a conference held by the Centers for a Houston Future. in which experts demonstrated factual data that Houston's economic growth in the coming years will depend on immigrants. Construction, service, health, and IT sectors, for example, will rely more on immigrants to meet labor demands. If foreign migration were to be reduced by 30% alone, this would result in a $51 billion loss in our regional economic output by the year 2036. Immigrants have and are currently helping build this city to what it is today, and they will be the key to our city's prosperity in the future. Houston is a thriving metropolis that has made contributions in energy, science, medicine, and engineering. None of these accomplishments would have been possible without the help of immigrants who came here to pursue their dreams and build a better and brighter future for themselves and their families. And this is also one of the reasons why Congress needs to enact immigration reform. And then finally, it is not right that a group of individuals who contribute billions of dollars to our economy must hide in the shadows because of their immigration status. No one should be forced to live in fear because of where they came from, their identity, or their beliefs. We need immigration reform that works because our future as a city and as a nation depends on it, and because it is the right thing to do. And I
Thank you, Mayor Turner.
Working with everyone as we move forward.
We are so grateful that you were able to join us, Mayor Turner. We're grateful for your leadership in the city of Houston, the fourth largest city in our country, built by and maintained by immigrants. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Next, it is my pleasure to introduce a fellow organizer for the state of Texas, Chelsea Kramer, Texas State Organizer for New American Economy.
Thanks, Juan Carlos. Hi, I'm with New American Economy. I am their state organizer. NAE is a research advocacy organization that crunches the economic impact numbers that you've been hearing this morning. Here in Texas, I run our Texas Business Coalition, Texans for Economic Growth, or TEG, which is composed of over 110 business leaders from all over the state in myriad sectors that are focused on advocating for common sense immigration reforms that are really based on the economic and workforce benefits, several of which we've actually heard from this morning. For 2020 and 2021, TEG's first priorities are, number one, a permanent solution for Texas Dreamers and TPS holders that creates a pathway to legal status or citizenship, and also a federal solution leading to permanent legal status for qualified undocumented immigrants in the state who together annually contribute more than $1 billion in state and local taxes. So with that, I'm excited to introduce a Houston community cornerstone, a leader on immigration reform, and the CEO of the Houston Hispanic Chamber, Dr. Laura Maria.
Thank you very much. They crossed the Rio Grande, they came here with nothing. They went on to raise 9 children, learn English. They both became citizens and employed hundreds of people in the restaurant business. Their story is very familiar to me because they were my parents. I stand before you now running one of the most influential chambers of commerce because my immigrant parents were given an opportunity to thrive and succeed. They worked hard, as so many other immigrants in this country have done, and in particular in our city. This conversation is about business, the economic impact that immigrants make, have made, and will continue to make in our region and throughout the country. Billions of dollars that they contribute toward our tax base, and also their consumer spending in our region and throughout the country. This is the time to act. Every entrepreneur, every business that I connect with tells me they need more workers. They cannot hire enough people. Again, if you want our economy to remain strong, we must make this a priority, an economic imperative. Congress, please act. Let's do the right thing. Let's keep our country economically vibrant and strong. Thank you.
And thank you, Dr. Murillo, for your leadership in the Latino business community. There's so many Latino businesses that could just elevate themselves if they were able to have this access to permanent legal status and not have to fear for their safety. So thank you, Dr. Murillo. Again, if you're a member of the media, please type your question in the Q&A box now. I would like to reiterate that last night there was news that Senate Democrats will be meeting with the parliamentarian on Friday, which is tomorrow, to discuss including a path to citizenship for Dreamers, TPS recipients, and essential workers in the budget reconciliation bill. We deeply believe that immigration just fits right in budget reconciliation because of the fiscal impact on the economy. It would create 1.5 trillion in GDP annually. It would create 400,000 jobs for Americans, and it would raise wages by $600 for every American. So very important. We ask Congress to please include immigration reform in budget reconciliation. It's been done before. Senators like John Cornyn have supported reconciliation in the past to provide legal green cards to immigrant workers. So immigration reform is a no-brainer. So I guess first question is for Stan Marek, and then I'm probably going to also ask Melissa Stewart, is why is immigration reform so urgent for your industry? Why not just wait? So Stan, why is it so important to do it now, not wait a few more months or a few more years?
Well, all of us need workers. And if you can't find legal workers, a lot of other people, not us necessarily, find ways to work people who are undocumented. And that's not right. But the biggest thing is we're recruiting from the high schools. And a lot of our people in our industry want to recruit from the high schools, but if 30 or 40% of them are undocumented, they're not going to do it. You're not going to take the risk that you're going to invest money in people and then find out they're not legal. So we need an ID and tax bill for those who are here. But just as important, we need a legal status for the kids getting out of high school so that they can enter a trade and get a good, legitimate job and pay taxes. I mean, having 11 million people in this country that we don't know who they are should be priority one, to ID them and let them pay taxes. And just as important are kids.
Thank you for that answer, Stan. Melissa, why is immigration reform so important now, and why not wait a few more years?
We simply can't wait. The reality is we have needs right now in our community that are going unmet, specifically around feeding people, producing food for our kids. We have owners and operators, and we have a number of TPS and DACA employees who, quite frankly, deserve the peace of mind to stay with us. The best example I can give you is if you ever go into a restaurant and they tell you it's going to be about a 45-minute wait, and you look over and there's all these empty tables, and you're like, why am I having to wait? There's a table right there. The fact of the matter is there's not enough workers. As I said earlier, we do about 1/3 of the first jobs for everyone in America, but the truth also is there's just not enough people getting first jobs anymore. With the reduction in birth rates and retirement and people coming out of the workforce or starting the workforce even later, we have a critical gap in people available to work in the jobs that take care of our community. And frankly, restaurants are one of those, and we just don't have another minute that we can wait.
Thank you so much, Melissa. You remind us that there are literally millions of undocumented workers that provide food for our tables, and we cannot just continue to let them be in the shadows. And if they're able to get this status, and they can contribute so much more to our economy. I see there's another question about how many undocumented people there are in Houston and how much do they contribute in taxes and also in spending power. And I believe the best person for this question is Chelsea Kramer from New American Economy. Is what are the specific numbers on the number of undocumented immigrants in Houston?
Yeah, that's a really, really great question. It's one that we get all the time. And luckily, with a partnership with the Center for Houston's Future, we actually ran these numbers just a couple of years ago. I know Mayor Turner mentioned speaking at that event, and he briefly went over it. But in the Houston metro area alone, about 37% of our immigrant population is undocumented, which is at 586,171. And so that is a huge number. That is a great amount of people that are spending money, paying taxes, raising their families, sending their children to school, as Stan Marek has been saying. When it comes to their spending power and how much they're paying in taxes, together this group, and again, this is only in the Houston metro, they have a spending power power of $9.8 billion. When it comes to federal taxes, they're paying $742 million, and in state and local, $448 million. And these numbers are just a tiny bit dated. They're from 2016. We're in the process of crunching the newest available numbers on the undocumented population. But we can assume that those numbers have continued to go up over the last several years. And so, again, these are very important numbers to the Houston economy, and these are folks that are integral parts of our communities as well.
Thank you, Chelsea. We have so many undocumented workers in Houston. It's the base of the Houston economy. They can't wait any longer. And last question is about, why does immigration reform deserve to be, or why should it be included in budget reconciliation? And I believe ZAIRA Garcia is probably the best person to answer this question. Why is immigration reform qualified to be included in budget reconciliation? ZAIRA?
Hi, Carlos. Thank you so much. We know we have the data to support that immigrants help to spur economic and workforce prosperity. And so we really believe that the case is there to say that providing a path to citizenship really increases our economic opportunities and strengthens our economy nationwide. We see it here in Texas. And at the end of the day, we know that we need to be able to use every tool at our disposal to find a path to citizenship and a sensible solution to help provide stability to our communities and our economy. And so we are confident. We've seen this, there's precedent for it. We've seen it done under the Bush administration. And so we know that, again, there is the data to back that this is really strong economic policy. And we're excited to see this process move forward.
Thank you so much, ZAIRA, for that succinct answer. Clearly, immigration reform does belong in budget reconciliation, and we'll start to know in the next few days that by the parliamentarian how that process will come about and whether immigration will indeed be included in reconciliation. So with that, I'd like to close this press conference and thank everybody for watching. Please contact your members of Congress, those in the audience, to please include immigration reform in budget reconciliation. Thank you so much for your time and have a great day.
Recording stopped.